Every religion that's ever got a foothold on the planet has preached two major concepts, almost as if they were more important than everything else that the religion stood for, and I'd agree about that level of importance. Well, the first concept is the need for forgiveness, and the second is the idea that we are loved, walking around in a body looking for a place to happen. It doesn't take much thought to see that love and forgiveness are probably versions of each other. So maybe the simplest way to say it is that forgiveness is an act, a process, an action, or a thing that you do, whereas love is more like a state, a mood, an attitude, or a condition. Now, if that makes sense, you can take the next step and agree that love is who you are, but forgiveness is what you do. From there, you can easily see that forgiveness is an act of love. But that's where things get complicated because the major religions have preached that you should forgive, but given absolutely no instructions about how to do that. Therefore, we can have maximum impact in this video if we answer the question, how do I forgive someone who's hurt or damaged or injured me? For the answer to make sense, we first of all need to explore what happens inside of us when we experience that harm or the wounding or the deception. So, just run with this thought experiment. Take your mind back to some event in which you felt insulted or misunderstood, lied to, or somehow cheated, and ask yourself what happens to your body as you remember what took place. For most of us, the sensations in our body are the signals we receive about our reaction to the event. And these sensations are the clues our body is sending to our minds about the emotions that we're experiencing. For example, shock, hurt, and insult invariably cause us to close in on ourselves. We contract inwards onto our core, closing our chest and holding ourselves, sometimes even feeling locked up or stuck, like we've got nowhere to go and there's no way to be expressed. And therefore, that remains unexpunged. And these barely recognised, let alone understood emotions get buried, suppressed, or otherwise made to go away, and the damage becomes permanent. It's these feelings buried deep in our subconscious that are the barrier to forgiveness. Without releasing these pent-up emotions, there's very little chance that forgiveness will actually materialise. We mistakenly assume that forgiveness will eventually turn up because we've been falsely taught that time heals all wounds. And the reality of forgiveness is deceptively simple. Once you've been able to satisfactorily express your hurt, your pain, your shock, meaning once you've had the chance to get the garbage out of your system, then and usually only then will forgiveness turn up. Funnily enough, it turns up unannounced and unexpected. And that's because once the buried emotions are released, we run out of energy for the whole situation. We discover we'd rather be dealing with some other more interesting aspect of life. So forgiveness is actually a sign that you've done the work. It's not a result you can force because you've decided that you've got the willpower. It's important that you understand that forgiveness is not the thing to work on. Healing the original pain is a concept to put your energy into. And when you've done enough healing work, forgiveness will turn up like an old friend finding their way to your house. The truth is, you don't need to know the first thing about forgiveness. It can't be learned. That's just us telling ourselves that we've decided that the matter intellectually. It can't be forced. That's just us ignoring the damage. So how do you heal the original wound? Well, most people say that they require an apology or an acknowledgement of responsibility from the offending party. But the problem with that is it puts your fate, your personal well-being, in the hands of someone else's opinions or feelings or attitudes, and that's just not good enough. Healing begins and ends with the expression of the hurt. Most people don't want to go there though because they're afraid of making it worse by going over it all again. But the reality is we need to release that frozen energy so that we stop carrying it everywhere with us. Now, how you do that's up to you. But I've seen a punching bag work wonders for the angry, sad movies, to do brilliant things for people who are sad, or just plain talking for the fearful. Just a quick point about that while we're on it. You might prefer to sing it out, or dance it out, or paint it out, or draw it, yell it, write it. It's irrelevant the way that you go at it. What's important is that you might need a few goes at it before you're done. In fact, my recommendation is that you keep on at it at least once a week. And you'll know the issue is no longer important and needs no more work when forgiveness just turns up and you decide that you prefer to get on with something else. At that point, you've set yourself free. So give it a go. I'm saying you can't really get it wrong or fail. Besides, what have you got to lose?